Well, we're going to jump right in since we're a little bit behind. Thanks everybody for coming. So I don't know if you saw my post in the Facebook group, but I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty beat up from this market right now. Is anybody else in a similar position or feeling the same way about how things are going right now? The competition we're facing, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Betsy.
Very beat down.
Yeah, it's rough. It is really, really competitive. And I have to tell you from the perspective of somebody who's been doing this for a while, who works with a lot of people, being new doesn't mean that this is only something you're experiencing. It is something we are all experiencing right now. There's just not enough homes and the competition is nuts. So to give you perspective, maybe not peace of mind, really, truly, this is something we're all going through right now. It's a bummer that this is how you get to start your career in real estate, but know that, this isn't how it's always going to be. And if you can make it in this market, you can make it in any market. So I want to start out by asking, what, if you've had some setbacks lately, or you've had some challenges with clients lately, what are you experiencing that's feeling like those things that are kind of pushing you back? Is it just the competitive nature of the market and the offers you're trying to write that aren't getting accepted? Is it, trying to get your business rolling? What are you feeling are your challenges right now?
I have something, Amanda. It's Melissa Delzer. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. I just very recently, my brother's girlfriend, they're moving to California for work. And my brother's girlfriend wants to list her house.
Okay.
And my brother called me this morning to ask me what is our commission rate and would we discount it? Well, I'm on Paul Nicholik's team and we don't discount. So how do you kind of handle, I know we've talked before about like getting listings with like your friends and family. How do you kind of, we also have a fee with Nicolik Group, but how do you kind of get around, my brother's like, oh, well, she just had talked to the woman that found her the house and she said she would give a discount because she's an independent agent. Like, how do you kind of get around that whole thing?
That's a good question. I would say, I don't know why my headphone, can you guys hear me okay? I'm having a headphone issue. Okay, I just want to make sure you don't end up hearing like everything going on in the office. So my answer to that would be a few things. I'm gonna grab my headphones while I'm talking.
I know kind of like the language around, like what Janine and what you have said about, that would give me a red flag. If a realtor said that she wanted to offer a discount, it probably means like a lack of, kind of what we do that makes us Keller Williams. So I understand that.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah. I mean, if you're thinking that, seeing this through the lens of resilience is a little tricky, but I would say this: if you don't have the option to adjust your commission, then it's about how you justify it, right? And I think that's true. Saying that, if another agent's willing to negotiate your money, their own money, how are they going to treat your money? That's real valid. I think also talking more about what you do and what you offer and being proactive about sharing that with your potential clients is, important in a way to help them understand the value. Even just talking about how there's another broker involved and how about half of that goes to them.
Right.
This isn't you taking 5, 6, 7% entirely to yourself. Talking about the value of having a team behind you and what that brings to the table. All those pieces I think are important to express clearly, because you may assume they know what you all do, but they don't necessarily. So yeah, being able to spell that out, I think, is important. And, bringing this back to resilience, helping them understand that even though this is a seller's advantage market, it's not an easy path. This isn't like you put your house on the market, you get a couple great offers, you pick a fabulous one and everything's fine. There's a lot of work and a lot to navigate. It's not something that people can easily do on their own or with an agent who's not necessarily as aware of what's going on in the market, as good at negotiating, helping them prepare. This is a lot to navigate, and they need a really strong person on their side who is confident in their abilities and their value. And I think that's an important piece of that too, is just somebody who can be there to walk them through the emotional roller coaster of this as well.
Right. And I think sometimes, like a more independent agent, maybe working for a smaller company, she told my brother's girlfriend, oh, your house will sell in a day. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what we don't want. We kind of want a delayed, and then we want to have showings Friday, Saturday, want to, so that everyone can see, and you can really get kind of, your pick of your best and cleanest offers.
Yeah. And it's not about necessarily just how fast you can sell a house. Anybody can sell a house fast today, but can you do it for a great price? Not just a great price, but great terms. Have you considered how the rest of the process is going? Getting an offer accepted these days with a listing is something anybody can do, but can you get it to the closing table in a stress-free way, in a successful way that's going to work to the best advantage of your seller? That takes an expert.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else? Anybody have some recent offers they wrote this weekend that didn't get accepted? I'm the only one. I see Liz nodding.
Yeah, I wrote 3 offers this weekend. And I would say that of the 3, 2 were strong offers. One we knew just based on her price point, but first time home buyer, and it was a great exercise in a non-pressured environment. So I feel good about that one go forward. But the other 2, it's not their first offers. It's not their second offers, and it's thankfully in most of the cases, I've been able to get the feedback from the listing agent, like,
great,
we rank, how close were we, what could we have done? And the few that have responded have been, very forthcoming, which has been amazing. So we wrote another offer last night for one of the weekend offers, and had actually already, kind of stripped some things out of the offer to clean it up a bit and make it more appealing. So, it's, thankfully the inventory is coming onto the market, because, those 2 weeks leading into Easter were it was like walking through the Sahara. So
yeah. Yep. I feel that. I totally feel that. I am experiencing that myself. When it comes to getting offers accepted and writing multiple offers with buyers, I think this comes back to a few things. When it comes to resilience, I've talked about this before in launch, and I've done some reading on it. The American Psychology Association has an interesting bit of info. The Mayo Clinic kind of pulled from them and a few other places with some traits that are true to resilient people. And I think this is twofold. This is for us as agents, for you as an agent to be resilient, to be able to handle the ups and downs, and a lot of downs in this market right now, especially working with buyers, but also to help your clients through that. And I think, like I was saying to Melissa, it's not just your buyers, it's also your sellers. There are some things that can come up along the way, even in this market for sellers. So it's important to be a person that can help them through the emotional side of this as well. You may have buyers who are less emotional. It may be an investor or something like that. But in many cases, at least one of your clients is going to be more emotional. And there's a lot behind the scenes through this process that you may or may not notice, especially because we're not in person together as often. So a few things I think are good to consider. One of them being be proactive. So like Liz said, she didn't just find out the offer wasn't accepted. She's looking forward to the next time she writes an offer with this client and is asking for feedback. Has anybody else been asking for feedback on rejected offers? I know it's not always a successful venture, but have you made that kind of a part of your practice?
I've only written one offer, but it was an FHA loan. So I knew it probably wasn't going to go very far, but I did ask for feedback and got it. She was very transparent.
Cool. Betsy, how about you?
So I wrote on a house that's on the train tracks this weekend. We thought that we had it. We went in with an escalator up to 492.5. It was listed at 420. 5,000 for inspection, 10,000 for appraisal, paying 2021 taxes, quick close, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I called the listing agent to let him know that we put in our offer on Friday night. And he essentially was like, sounds like they're going to get this house. And I was like, great. And then I got one of the notifications from Showing Time that multiple offers had been received. And can you please make sure that your buyers know there are train tracks on the property? I think that he got so many offers and he was shocked that people are just yeah, put a train track through my living room. It's fine. We're good. How much do you want? So then we got a notification that we didn't get it. And I called him and he said the one that won, he said all of the offers were strong. All of them would have been acceptable. The one that won didn't have, they waived appraisal.
Mm-hmm.
And I just knowing that that property probably would have appraised low. And say they went in at 475 and it appraised at 400, there was no way that my buyers would be able to just come up with $75,000 cash. So I think it made me feel better. And I think when I explained it to them, it made them feel better, but also kind of well, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I think this is coming up a lot. Very often now I'm finding that there is this, we had all these great offers, but this one just blew everything out of the water. And it's, is it a buyer who's fed up and they're like, I'm going to put it all out there? Is it an agent who's not as informed about how their buyer's not very protected at this point? Is it, there's so many things to consider. I think it's good to have truly direct feedback from that situation to be able to say, here's what we know, here's what we need to keep in mind next time around. So then is it we find the house that you're so willing to go all out on that it doesn't matter? Is it we need to be a little more creative about finding unusual situations where maybe it's less likely we're going to have this kind of competition? But I think that having that feedback to be proactive is really important. I also think that having some hope in this market, as corny as that sounds, is really helpful. So if you're working with somebody who's okay, well, that's helpful, but what, we're never going to find a house. What the heck? It is time and again is true with whoever I'm working with. It always works out for the best. It may mean that we have to be a little more patient. It may mean that we need a little more time. It may mean we need to explore kind of outside of our general parameters, be a little more open, or be a little even more creative with our offers. But this always works out for the best. It really, truly does. In hundreds of transactions, I can speak to that in all different kinds of markets. So I think being that kind of beacon of light in this crazy market for your clients, and also just believing that yourself, can really help through this crazy uphill climb that we're on as buyers agents right now. And that's one of those pieces of one of the traits that resilient people tend to have or have built. And by the way, a resilient person isn't born a resilient person. This is something anybody can develop. So if you're feeling oh, I'm just kind of like, I'm not that kind of person. You can still find your own way of being resilient within your life and also this job and this market. I think another piece of that that comes up time and again in anything I'm reading or listening to about resilience is that connection with people, and having your own people to lean on, which I know right now is challenging, especially since you've mostly joined during the pandemic. We haven't really had a chance to build community in person. So this class and productivity and our team meetings, these are times for us to kind of build that connection with each other, to be a resource for each other, and just a place where we can talk about the challenges we're having with other people who understand, who are in similar positions. And if nothing else, just hearing that everybody's experiencing the same thing can be helpful. It just helps to give some perspective. And I also think that, building that connection with your clients is so super important, that having that solid relationship and that they know that you're working for their best interest will help to calm some of that frustration, and help them build that trust in the process and in you. One of the things I found says that connecting with empathetic and understanding people can remind you that you're not alone in the midst of difficulties. Focus on finding trustworthy and compassionate individuals who validate your feelings, which will support the skill of resilience. So being that person for your clients, I think, is also important. And I think that it's really easy for us to get caught up in the nuts and bolts of the job, right? Like, I wrote this offer, this is what goes in it, this is what's not in it. We are, looking for a house with these things. We have to schedule ASAP before it fills up. All those sort of general pieces of the job, right, that have nothing to do with emotion. It's real easy to get caught up in the pace of it all. And we're just, okay, what do you want to see? Here's the address. Here's the stats about it. This is when they're reviewing offers. This is how much time we have for a showing. This is when we can go. This is when we have to send in an offer. Here's what we need to put in it. This is what the seller wants. It's just all technical, right? In the meantime, your buyer is probably super anxious, frustrated, worried, kind of giving up, right? Like, they have all of these emotions. And I think it's so important for us to remember that we need to touch base with them about those things, see how they're feeling, check in with them, even if we don't have a new listing to send them. Talk to them about how they're feeling before we have our next showing. Those emotional connections are so important, to say, I understand this is super disappointing. How can we rally together as a team? Rather than just saying like, I don't really know what to tell you. Your offer wasn't accepted. There was one that was above and beyond. I don't really think it's a great idea to take your home inspection out, but we could. And just being very technical about it, I think you miss a super important piece, which is that emotional side of things, that connection and support that people need through this process, as people who are trusting you as their expert, but also to remember that it's something you need. So remembering you can connect with each other, you can connect with the coaches in the launch program, with other agents from our KW community, to help you feel like you have that emotional support as well. So you can also be that person for your clients. And it's so easy. I have to remind myself regularly, I'm caught up in the madness of all these showings and all these offers and all this, back and forth negotiating, that sometimes I have to stop and remind myself, like, these are people. This is a really emotional process. This is upsetting and anxiety inducing. And sometimes I just need to stop and call them and be like, hey, I just want to check in and see how you're doing. Like, how do you feel about this process? Do you want to take a break for a couple of days? Do you want to go back out this weekend and make a plan? Like, here's what I'm learning about what's happening with inventory. It looks like things are on the uptick a little bit. So we've got some hope there. But being that person and kind of helping people know that they can lean on you, not just for the technical parts of the job, I think is a really important piece of what we do, and an important reason why we can't be replaced by machines, right? Like we can't be replaced by just click here and write your offer, because so much of going through this process is that emotional side of it. So I think that's another important thing for you and also for your clients' resilience. Learning from your experience and failures. We talked a little bit about this with, those offers that didn't get accepted, that, asking for feedback, knowing that, every step of the way is an important part of that journey. So, we didn't get this one, but let's just think about how, what did we learn from this? Sounds like you're a little more flexible on location and you're open to noise that maybe other people wouldn't be, or how do you feel about that offer we wrote? If it got accepted, would you have felt, okay, here's what this may have meant if we took out your appraisal contingency, this is what that would look like. And you can kind of do it in the decompressed side of things when they're more likely to be able to absorb that information, and you can kind of set the tone for the next offer you write, rather than waiting until you're writing the next offer and then you have to explain what taking an appraisal out means, and you've got an hour to write the offer and they're excited and nervous and scared and probably half listening to you. It's a good way to kind of wrap up what happened and get everybody back on the same page, set them up for success the next time around. Another thing, from the being proactive side of things and learning from experience is, I cannot stress this enough. I have to say this every time. Do a consultation with your clients before you go out on showings. If you have buyers, do a buyer consultation. Please, please do that for your clients and for you. It's going to help you set their expectations for what's happening. If they know they're probably going to write more than one offer, but the right house is going to work out, they're going to be much less devastated when you tell them their first offer didn't get accepted. So setting those expectations of what's happening in the market, the kinds of offers that are getting accepted, get those wheels turning about what they're willing to give up or take on as a risk in their offer well before you're writing an offer. It's going to make the process less stressful for both of you. Also with your sellers, setting the expectation that, what's that, Liz?
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because the buyers I'm working with, one was super last minute, had to get into a house, so we never really had that official buyer consult. The other two I did, came into the office even like face to face. And, it's absolutely about talking about the market, but I think the other big pieces are really diving in as much as you can on their financial situation. It's not just, oh, I'm putting 20% down. Well, okay, awesome. That would be, that's the dream, right? At minimum. But really, how much more cash do you have access to? And do you fully understand that you're going to need down payment and closing costs and potentially that appraisal shortfall or whatever those shortfalls are that we're trying to fulfill as well? Because especially with the first time home buyers, I don't think they quite always understand, depending upon who their lender is and how great their conversations went, that they need these separate buckets of money, that it's not just my 20% covers it all.
Right.
And then following up with their lender and making sure that you understand how many days that you need for loan commitment and all of where are they at from an appraisal timeline standpoint, because when you're writing an offer Friday night and you can't get a hold of the lender, you don't know, you're not playing with a full deck of cards. So yeah, some of the things that have just become so apparent so quickly. And we all know we don't have any time to wait because offers are due.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, Liz. I think that again, proactive. So not just meeting with your clients and setting those expectations, finding out about their financial situation's great. I think it's important to put that in the light of, because this is what's happening in the market, I want to be able to best help you. I'm not trying to find out what your maximum dollar is so that I can push you to spend the most money. We're on a team and I want to help you get the best situation. And rather than asking you about this when you're under the pressure of writing an offer, let's talk about this now. Here's the reasons why, this is what we'll need to do potentially to get an accepted offer. Where's your comfort level there? And you're totally right. Talk to their lender, make a phone call, make a connection. And even if it's a lender you've worked with before, to find out specific to this borrower, if they, if they needed to come up with additional cash, if their appraisal was low, what does that look like for you, this lender, with this borrower? What would be required? Do they have to make, another larger amount towards their down payment to satisfy that shortfall? Or is there any other option? Do we need to set up their loan in the financing contingency a little differently to allow for that gap? Maybe they were going to put 20% down, but maybe we put 10 in the offer so that they've got that extra room to grow if they need it. So I think that's a really great point. Definitely important to set those expectations. I also think for your sellers, that also having that consultation, that listing appointments, not just about, selling them on working with you and talking about the next steps and having them sign a listing contract. I think it's also good to have either a follow-up conversation or to mention in that meeting what they can anticipate from this market. It's not just, we're going to, put it on the market on the weekend happens, we review offers, and then you got tons to look at. But also, like, here's the things we want to really think about is who we're attracting and what the risks are with taking offers of, different variety of contingencies or not. What would it look like if someone got cold feet? Sort of preparing them for that as you go through the process of having the house out on the market, getting it ready. Oh, all these great offers are coming in. This is amazing. And not just doing it when you're reviewing offers, but setting their expectations along the way too, I think is really important. Also, having a sense of accomplishment along the way is really important. So for you as new agents, having goals, having those small steps each day towards those goals, acknowledging your progress and gratitude is so important. Also true with your clients. So we go out on showings, we see 5 houses. They're convinced that 2 of them are probably going to be the best house they've ever seen and want to write an offer. And then after you see all 5, it's a total disappointment. Or you try to go see 5 and then 2 of them suddenly have accepted offers. How do you overcome that? Talking about the benefits of that experience. This was really good. We didn't find what we were looking for, but it's a process of elimination. We figured out that you really like this area and don't like this area. We got some real clarity on, even though this is a really cute house, it doesn't have all, these 2 things that are really important to you, and being pushed into a situation where you have to decide right now if you're writing an offer or not has helped us get clarity on the fact that this is really important to you. So helping them see these little bits of growth, little victories along the way is so important. And it may feel like you're stretching at times, but let them know, like, this is going to be a tough process. And so I'm here to help you through it. Even if it means we don't get an accepted offer, we're going to work together as a team and get back out there. So let's look at what we learned from this experience. Let's, what have we accomplished thus far? Look how far we've come. Things like that you can help them recognize along the way is really important. And once you get an accepted offer, you're probably all exhausted, but still celebrate those victories, be cautiously optimistic, help them be aware of what the next steps are, but also, like, everybody needs a little boost by that point, right? By the time you finally get an offer accepted, everyone's like crawling across the finish line and they're like battered and bruised. And you just got to be the one to say, like, and it's got to come from a genuine place. So figure out how to do that in your own voice and not just be like, yay, cheerleader all the time. If that's not your jam, don't force it, but figure out a way to really be there as their advocate and say, like, hey guys, like, I know this really sucks right now, but I think we can at least take some comfort in this thing that we've now learned, or this thing that we now know and we can apply to our next offer. So reminding people of those little accomplishments along the way is big. And I think for you as agents, new or not new, when you get to the point of, oh my God, I just did like 20 showings this weekend. I wrote 6 offers. I didn't get any of them accepted. What the heck am I even doing? Like, you need to be able to find those bits of accomplishment, right? You need to be able to dig down and find that hope and that understanding and trust that things are going to work out. being able to lean on those connections with other agents, with the people in your life, with your clients. I think all of that is absolutely key to making it through this market in particular, but also this business. I mean, to be able to do this long term, you can't totally fry yourself on all the ups and downs and getting, pushed around and just sort of riding the wave. To be able to take some control of what's going on and how you're reacting to it and what you decide to do moving forward is super important. And in addition to that, I would say to have a good base to handle all of this stress, it's really important that you take care of yourself. And this is coming from somebody who's not great at this, but I am learning every day and I'm trying to make steps in the right direction. But it really is important that you set yourself up physically and emotionally to handle all of this. Life in general, pandemic times, this market, stressful clients, all of those things. It comes back down to taking care of yourself, because you can't fill other people's cups if your cup is not full or even partially full. If it's empty, you're in trouble. So I think reminding your clients of that too. So like, if they're frenetically sending you homes at 10:30 p.m. and trying to schedule something for tomorrow, and that they really can't fit that showing, it like just recognizing like, okay, we're people who are trying to our very best, but like we all need sleep, we all need bathroom breaks, we need food and water, we need a moment to ourselves to regroup, we need to have that time where we're supposed to exercise. Like, being realistic with each other and with yourself about actually making time for those things, the importance of those things, not completely writing them off your day if you have to scoot stuff around to accommodate a showing. But also acknowledging that that's important for your clients. You're out on showings and it's been 2 hours and they look agitated. You can feel yourself getting hangry. Like, hey, let's just take a minute. I've got some granola bars in my car. Like, those sorts of things are things that go out the window as soon as people get stressed, as soon as things are time sensitive, as soon as you feel beat down and just can barely get yourself to do anything. The first things that go are sleep and getting water and taking bathroom breaks and doing some exercise or yoga. Like, that stuff all gets scrapped so easily because it feels like extra stuff, when really that's the base of what you need to work off of. If you don't have that stuff in line, it doesn't matter how determined you are to make things work, you're going to crumble. It's going to happen. If your roots are weak, your tree's going to fall over. It doesn't matter how strong your branches are, how beautiful your leaves are, you're going to fall over. So you've got to take care of that stuff too. And I think it's important to remember that for your clients as well. And maybe it's just a small gesture. Like, you're going to be out on showings for a couple hours with them and you like bring everybody a little bottle of water or some snacks, or you build in a break. If you've got somebody from out of town who's going to be looking at houses all freaking day, build in a couple breaks, build in a lunch break, give them a little time to like decompress and not talk about real estate and just get some fresh air in between showings. So remembering those things for yourself and your clients, I think, is also really important and will help you to become more resilient, will help them to be more resilient in this process. And really, that's key. If they get emotionally burnt out, even when something comes along that's a very minor issue, if they're at their absolute peak, at their eyeballs, they have had it with everything, they're going to freak out over something small and it'll all blow up and all that work will go down the drain. So being their emotional support and also reminding yourself that you cannot be that emotional person that blows up over something small when you're burnt out. Those are really important pieces too. Because if you can't save yourself from those issues along the way, that could really come to be a much bigger problem that is much more you and not the situation, and something that you could avoid. So does anybody have some tips on things that you've been doing in this market to help you through, to help your clients through, or you've seen or heard of other people doing things? Oh no, we're in trouble.
Okay, so Liz again, sorry. Apparently I'm feeling chatty this morning.
Yeah, great.
But so, most of my clients, they can't look at houses during the day. So it is literally been 5 o'clock till, whenever. And then weekends, of course. So, but during the week, I'm at the office most of the time all day, and then, head off to the showing, and, I pop home during the day to let the dog out, but like, I can't just like ignore her, she's like, I don't want to clean up that mess. So, for example, last night we went on the showing at like 5:30, and afterwards they wanted to write the offer. And I said, okay. And I've done this with them 3 times now. So I was like, hey, I'm going to go home, and they have little kids. So I was like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to walk my dog. You guys do dinner, family, whatever you got to do. And then I'll, let you know if I have any questions as I'm drafting, but I'll have it over to you, probably by 7 or 8 at the latest. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. So it's one, I can kind of continue to build that rapport and relate to them. Like, hey, it's not just me. I know you guys have to get these girls fed and put to bed. And then they know that I'm just, like, that's why it's taking so long. It's not just because I'm slow or like they're not the priority. I'm saying, hey, I'm going to take half an hour to walk my dog, decompress, because it's, we don't really walk that much. She just sniffs everything. So, but it's like the one time I'm not connected to my phone and the computer, and I come back from that walk like, okay, let's hammer out this offer and get this house for these people. So it's thankfully it's warmer out, but that's really helped me, and I think helps them too.
Yeah. And it is truly a great thing that in many situations we know when offers are due. I think that's, that is ultimately up to the seller, but it sure does give us all a moment to breathe. Your buyers, agents on both sides, everybody gets a chance to regroup and recognize that this is crazy and know that, okay, we have a little time. If an offer isn't due until tomorrow, and your client is obviously feeling the stress, and you've got time to write an offer tonight, but maybe you put it together tonight and then you give them the night to sleep on it, or maybe you set a time tomorrow to put the offer together because you have until whatever time that it's due. But yeah, just recognizing, like, I understand you're a person who has other things going on besides buying or selling a house, and turns out I am too. And so, let's recognize that each other needs like a moment, or, tell me more about, where you live, where you're headed after this showing. How are your kids doing? Just getting some insight on the things that they're dealing with or what they have to take care of today besides seeing houses and writing offers can be a great opportunity to connect, a great opportunity to give them a little breath and help them take something that's stressing them out off their plate, or to take care of something. It's a small thing. It seems like a really obvious thing to do, but I can't tell you how often I talk to people who have clients who just closed on a property and they're all excited. And I'm like, cool, tell me more about your client. And they don't really know much. Like, we're in this for the long haul with these people. This is not like a write an offer and close in a month and that's it. Like, you've got time. So it helps to just kind of learn a little bit more about them, to be more understanding of their time, to be forthright about what you're doing. You are a priority. It's super important to me that we get these, this offer in by this time. But I also recognize that this has been a long day. We've looked at a lot of houses and it can be stressful. And so how about we just take a breather for this much time? So I think that's a great approach. I think as long as you're letting them know, like, we've got until this time, don't worry, we can get this together, or, hey, we'll get it together tonight because this is when you're free and I'm free, but then I'm not going to send it until I talk to you tomorrow morning, or whatever it is. So there's some ways to work around that.
Do you have, because I have hit this as well, and I smushed it in, we made it work, but when it's a last minute request to see a house and we know the offers, it's 2:00 and the offer is due at 5 and you haven't even seen the house yet. And it's like, but you could, in theory, go see the house and try to smash through the offer. Mm-hmm. But it's just, you either know it's not the right house. And so you go down that path with them, like, hey, you really wanted a 3-bedroom. This is a 2-bedroom. Is this like really necessary? Not with those words, of course, but because we want them to see the house and, make sure that, we're not missing that one. But what I'm struggling a bit with how to, kind of let them down, but not in that way. And also be respectful of my own time and knowing that I'm new and I'm dedicated to putting in the hours, especially the first year. But it's that balance of, but I need some time for me too. And this is actually going to really ruin whatever I had planned that day, say.
Yeah, it can be challenging in that situation. And honestly, I haven't perfectly figured it out myself. This is someone who just had my day and a half off and I worked the entire time on and off again. And there are times when it's really hard to say no to people. So there's a few things that I've done over time that help. I think, yes, going back to what they're looking for, helping them see the full scope of the situation. So they're reviewing offers at 5. We can get in at 2, but here's my question. Looking at what we know about this house so far, do you feel like we could look at it at 2 and you would feel strongly enough to write a very competitive offer before 5 o'clock? Like by 4, you'd have to be ready to write a very competitive offer. Because we know what the market's doing, we know that looking at a house and feeling okay about it and writing an okay offer isn't going to get us an accepted offer. So if it's helpful for you to just see the house for information's sake, that's worth a look. But are you feeling strongly enough about the basics of this house to want to write a very strong offer, as we know this is the case? Now, if they are new to the market, this is more difficult. They're just starting out. They don't have the full perspective. They haven't, lost a battle yet. So that may be a different story. And I feel like when people are first getting out there, it can sometimes take a little while for them to get a feel for it. If they still feel like they want to see it, couple of things. You could lean on a fellow agent and have them as your showing helper. And you could say to your buyer, they don't need to know what your obligation is, but just to say, the house is available at 2. I'm not available to show it to you before those offers are due. I have a helper agent who can show it to you on my behalf. And if you want to write an offer, here's when I'm available to do that. And then kind of coordinate it that way. In so many cases, if it's not the right house, but you have somebody who's more than willing to help you show it, which I can say a lot of people are, we have a great community here. Then great, they can show it. They can report back to you about what is going on with the house. Talk to your client about how they felt about it, and then, make a plan moving forward. So in a pinch that can work. You could even partner with somebody, just sort of, a casual partnership to say, hey, if I need help with showings, this is usually when I need help. If you need help with showings, here's when you might need help. Maybe this would work. We could just kind of lean on each other to help out. And just, make sure that you give them some background on that client and, that they've had a chance to look at the details, that you've had a chance to look at the details of the offer, and maybe even connected with that listing agent in some way. So you can be sort of the introduction to the property and showing, and then the agent who's showing it on your behalf is at least informed about those things going on. But you can make it easy for them by just saying, like, quick email, here's about my client, or text, here's about the house. I set it up. Here's what you need to know. I would say if you do that when you schedule the showing, schedule it in your name so you've got that record of that showing, but then make a note in there that you have a showing agent helping you and this is their name, so that the listing agent knows, so that it's not like some rando person in there that they weren't expecting. But you can lean on each other for that too. If you're really finding that to be true often, then maybe you do look into a more formal relationship with somebody as a showing agent or as a teammate or something like that. But that can help. And then there are those times when you're like, I know this is a great house. I know this could work out for them. I have this other obligation. And then you kind of got to negotiate with whoever you have the obligation with. I have a very understanding husband, but I can tell he's kind of at his limits right now. So I have to make up for it in the times when I'm certainly available. It also is a good argument for blocking out those absolutely non-negotiable times, those big rocks in your life, the important major things that you need to do and take care of. And excuse me, and to block those out at times during the week when you are less likely to have to move them around for showings or move them around for appointments or offer writing. So, if you know that usually it's pretty slow, midday on Monday, and you can plan a lunch with someone you care about, or that, not a ton of new listings come up Monday evening, so you're less likely to have showings, and maybe that's date night. Like, however you can work that out to ensure that there are less likely to be moved times and important things with the people who are important, then you're less likely to have to constantly be changing that, because that can be stressful too, and that can really wear on you. Good. Anybody else have some tips or experiences they've had or things that they've leaned on to kind of help them bounce back from the challenges of this career, this market? No one. Everyone is just being crushed completely. Come on now. I know you got something.
Well, I did finally get an AO with my buyers, my first-time buyers, that we've been looking since January. They're having a baby in early June. So it was like, we need to get it done now. Otherwise,
yes,
you got to rent for another year. And so finally we found one where we waived inspection, but they had the inspection on file. So that really helped. And then beyond that, just with the appraisal, we kind of thought, it might appraise under. So we're just doing X amount over appraised value, and they accepted that. But we wrote, I think, 5 offers before this one that, didn't work out. So it was tough. But kind of like you were saying, they're really excited now, and they definitely feel like they got the house out of all the ones that we looked at. They got the one they wanted. So
awesome.
Just had to keep at it, and it's definitely tough though.
Yeah. So when you told them they got the offer accepted, was this like a big, like,
yeah, they were super
yay, super excited. You made a big deal out of it.
They got the baby coming and everything. So it's like, it needed to happen very quickly.
Yeah.
And otherwise it was going to have to be pushed back. So yeah, they were super psyched, and it's right by his parents and everything. It location wise and everything worked out really well. So
perfect.
But it
did
was
you kind of
leading up and, with all the other properties, so it was not without struggle.
Yeah. Have you kind of pointed that out too? Like, oh, this is so cool that it's worked out, that this is like the best one we've seen. It totally worked out for the best, and that sort of thing. I
pointed that out. I also think from their perspective, that's pretty clear, because they were feeling equally, probably with the kid and everything, more pressure than me, because it's where they're living. So yeah, I pointed that out, but they definitely feel that way.
Good. So, well, and I think that's awesome. Well, congrats. That's super awesome. I hope you celebrated too. That's a big deal for anybody right now. Any agent to get an accepted offer is fantastic. I also think that, a lot of people are watching their friends go through this process of purchasing a home or selling a home, and helping them to keep that perspective and celebrate those victories, and that reminder of like, oh, it really does work out for the best, is great, because then that word gets out to other people, right? So they're more likely to send somebody to you who understands a lot of the things you've already built and talked about with them. They send you somebody who's already heard about all that stuff and is like, oh yeah, I get it. Lots of offers. It's going to work out for the best. I totally trust you. This is great. Let's go. So there's that kind of spreads as you go too, which is really awesome. So congrats. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have some bounce back tips and tricks? Nothing. All right. Well, here's what I will say, just as a refresher and kind of to wrap everything up. So when it comes to this business, this market, life in general, resilience is really important to keeping you moving forward, and also being the best agent you can be for your clients. So keep these things in mind. Connecting with others is super important. So make sure you've got your support system whether that's friends and family, other agents, people you can lean on for help, with showings, and also just to talk through things. We are here as your coaches as well. And also be that person for your clients. You don't have to be their whole world and their psychologist, but helping them through the process and helping them keep perspective, celebrating those victories. It's all super important stuff that you can do for them and is part of our job. Having that sense of accomplishment, setting your goals, making those small steps towards your goals each day, celebrating the victories along the way and the journey. Maybe it's not the big goal, but hey, we learned something from this experience and we can take this moving forward. Learning from your experience and failures. That fail forward is a very popular term right now, but there's real validity to that. We didn't make it this time. We didn't get an accepted offer this time, or I didn't get the listing this time. I made a connection with somebody, but they didn't sign by our agency, or they ghosted on me. How can I learn from this experience and move forward? A better person, a better agent to better serve my clients. Being hopeful, trusting the process, trusting that it always works out for the best, helping to point out those reasons why we have good reason to be hopeful for your clients is also really huge. And doing that in a genuine way, a way that's genuine to you and true, and not just a fake, yay, this is great, but really truly helping people see those good points along the way is important too. Taking care of yourself. So physically, emotionally, spiritually, your mind and body, those are your base. Those are your roots. If you don't have that stuff taken care of, it's going to catch up to you. So make sure you're getting sleep and, drinking enough water and remembering to eat during the day, keeping snacks in your car for yourself and your clients, giving yourself time to exercise, get fresh air, connect with other people, connect with yourself, meditate, yoga, whatever it may be, journaling. Just make sure that you are taking care of yourself and recognizing that your clients and the people around you need to do that as well. And be proactive. Take the time to have a buyer consultation. Take the time to prepare your seller's expectations, your buyer's expectations for what is happening in this market, what could happen, how we're going to approach any problems along the way. This is not going to be a bump-free ride, right? There are going to be ups and downs, but I know what they are. I know what to expect. If we come across something unexpected, this is how we're going to handle it. I've got great resources. I'm here for you, and we're a team. We're going to work through this stuff. And here's the things we can expect ahead of time to really put our best foot forward in this process. So those things will help you to be resilient in this process, in this business, for your clients, to help your clients to be resilient as well. I can't talk about this enough right now, between the pandemic and the way the market's been and just starting out in this business in general. Resilience is so important. And it's not just saying like, have grit, keep moving. There's so much more to it. And I think these pieces are really important and very much apply to how you do your business every day and how you work with other people. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope that you are finding the victories during your week, that you're going to celebrate every little bit of the way. Remain hopeful. Remember to lean on each other and be proactive. Really be that solid person who your clients will trust, and trust yourself that you've got this. You can put this business together. You can keep things moving forward. Even in this market, there are those steps you can take towards your goals. So don't forget that. So thanks for coming. Thanks for your patience at the beginning with our slow start. And I look forward to seeing you next week. I hope you all have an awesome week, and just keep moving forward. This weekend of showings is bound to be a crazy one. And I hope you're remembering to get some sleep and not forgetting to have a lunch break as you go through those crazy days too. So thanks again, everybody, for coming. And don't forget, you can set up accountability with me too if you haven't done that yet. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Amanda.